Hi, in this video I will show you how to put together the chef hat, which is a 3D chef hat SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So these are the pieces for the box, and this is what it looks like together. And it does lift up for a gift box, so you can see it's kind of shaped like this. And that just lifts like that. And then you have to kind of carefully put it in. So it takes a second, because this is just a rounded panel. It's actually octagon shape. So we're going to put that aside, but so you can just see a little bit better of what it looks like. So these are the pieces. The spoon and fork, and there's a little circular piece that'll go on top. This is the bottom piece that the box will sit on. This is the panel that'll go around the edge. This is this is the box piece that'll go on that round piece, and this is the top of the actual top of the hat. So one thing I want to show you is when you cut these pieces out. So we're going to work with these pieces first. When you cut with these pieces, there's going to be just make sure you don't change the score, but there'll be numbers right here on the tab. And this is I'm just kind of chalking them so you can see. So I'm going to show you. I have them in order, but make sure you put them in order. Okay, to show you these numbers, you can see right here. Barely can see it, but there's a number 1 right here. Let's see if you can see the 2 better. Camera's not focusing too well. But there's a 2. So anyways, they have little numbers, and you could, put a little ink or something like that. Just try not to get it on your white. I did a little chalk. Not a lot of people use chalk these days. I guess I'm one of the few that still uses it. But what we want to do is go ahead and fold these tabs. So do this for all. It doesn't fold up there, but all the scores. I decided if to make this with the score marks. I mean, a lot of people might want it smooth, but the reason I did it this way is because it's harder for people that might be new to use a smooth one. But you could actually take these score lines out, and do it smooth and just curl it. So if you're an advanced user, you could do that. But I don't think it looks bad. It gives it definition. So we'll go ahead and score the rest of these, and then we'll get started. Just make sure you put them in order. Once you fold them all, make sure 1's on top, and then 2, 3, 4, in number. Put them in numerical order with 1 on top. Okay, I have them all folded. The one thing I do want to have you pay attention to is make sure you get a really good point up there. So we're going to put something over it because there's going to be probably just a minor little hole, but I'm just going to have a little circle piece to put over it. Of course, you can choose not to use it, but I think it'll clean up that top part. You'll notice also, so really get these folded well, because that's going to help you put it together. And again, pay close attention to this top piece. But one other thing you'll notice is that some pieces have a score down here because of the way that it's shaped. Even though there's 2 tabs there, there's not always a score mark. So don't get confused by that. This is just to help you put it together because it kind of curves around. And the other thing, again, I'm doing this, telling you again before you put this together, make sure they're in numerical order with this tab. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, because if it's not going to go together right. So I have them in order. I'll put it to my right. So this is the bottom part of it too. I haven't folded it yet. I'm just going to put it to the left there. So what we're going to do is to start gluing these together. So I'm going to start with piece number 1. And we're going to start just only with this top tab. What we want to do is add a little glue here. And be careful not to get glue too close to the edge where the fold is, because you don't want any glue kind of coming through. And if you do, just make sure you have a little wet paper towel. And we're going to line this edge up. It's kind of hard to see with whites, but we're lining this edge up. Make sure it's lined at the top, and then this little fold aligns to the one on the left. This is the most important part when you're putting these pieces on, is to line it at the top. If you're a little bit off at the end, again, we have a little circle thing to put at the top. The biggest thing is if you're not aligned between here and there, these will go off a little bit. I mean, a little bit off. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to tell you where usually the issues are. So now that we have that on, make sure it's good and secure. You'll have to understand how quickly your glue that you use, I'm using art glitter glue, but how quickly it dries. So here's your option. You can go a couple tabs at a time or all tabs. So let's just do 3. So I'm going to do it a couple ways. Because I've done a lot of these, it's easier for me. But somebody who's not as used to doing these kind of boxes may need to take it slow at first. So what I'm doing is I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold, and I'm kind of feeling to make sure they're lined up with another fingertip, whether it be my thumb or my finger. No, my thumb got all scratched up by something today. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I've got scratches all over it. Oh, sometimes you don't know what you're doing. I was doing some cleaning yesterday, so I'm sure that's what happened. And then, I was breaking down boxes. That may have been what it was, too. I get off track. I can. I'm the designer, and I sit here with my own thoughts. Anyways, so here we go. You see I kind of did the last 2, and that's what it looks like. So if you take it slow, don't feel like you need to go fast. I'd say go as fast as you feel comfortable with. So now I'm doing number 3 because I just finished 2. So I'm always validating the number as I put the next one on, because I am, that's one of the things, sometimes I get sidetracked or I'll move something and then everything's out of order. So, the story of my life. So there's just certain things I double check. So we anchored that one on. And then if you know your glue can stay wet for a certain amount of time and that you're fast enough, you can go ahead and add glue to all the tabs. This is really not that big of a box, so most people that are familiar with this process of doing these curved designs probably can do it in one pass pretty easily. I'm actually not a fast crafter. I've gotten faster just because I do it a lot. But it's easier for some. And you see, I'm still, just as a tip, running my thumb up here over this as I'm applying pressure inside to make sure I'm lined up. And having these 2 tabs down here, it helps because there's just a real slight curve. I could have made it 1 tab, but the more tabs actually with the curved item, the easier it is to kind of bend it at places. So I'll continue to add them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at right before I close it up, because I have that's probably the hardest part of this once you get all these in. And the other thing is, if you watch me, because you can watch me through this process, but I'm not going to speak through the whole thing. Once I get further on, I'm kind of going to be moving and bending this a little bit to be able to get to the tab. So you just have to be gentle and make sure that the previous tab is secure. And again, make sure that you're putting the right number on. So next I'm on to 4 because I just did 3. I'll be back shortly. So we're going to resume a little bit early because I'm going to show you ways that you can hold this. So I'm on, that's number 7, and we have this last piece to put on. So you can see this is going to go down like that. It kind of automatically pops up, but that's okay. But as we get to this last piece, it'll be pulling it down a little bit. So you can see how I have my hand kind of in there to separate the pieces, and this can go over this. So just to give you an idea of how you can hold it. I don't want anybody just kind of throwing this design to the side because they're like, this is just a pain in you know what. So let's go ahead. We're going to add glue to that top tab again. I'm kind of pushing it down. See, I'm just going to hold it like this. And carefully line it up. Okay, so I wasn't doing the best to get it lined up, but let's get it lined up here. And I have enough glue. I have a little wiggle room. That's a nice thing about wet glues. Especially the art glitter glue. I used to use Scotch all the time, Scotch Quick Dry. But I'm finding a little goes a long way with art glitter. I didn't think I'd like it at first because I thought it was too wet, but that's just because I was using too much. So I want to get that good and anchored. And then we'll continue. So let it kind of naturally, just make sure you're not, just let it naturally go the way it needs to go. But there are ways to move this around while we're putting it, before we close it, to make it easier for you. Of course, I wouldn't hold it like this unless it was already secure on that one tab. Get a little excess glue there. Because we have no panels on this, we have to be careful about the glue leaking over. So here, I kind of have to pull it a little bit to get it lined up. So anything that you do like this, where it's circular or has things like this, I mean, I have ones that have score lines. This is the reason I include the score lines, because it helps you to glue each tab and help you line it up. It is more of a challenge than like a square or hexagon or any polygon, because this really is kind of an octagon shape on the bottom, which is going to be really easy. You'll see the edges so much easier than this. So here are the last one. So here we go. We're going to go really gently. I'm just going to pop it under. Pop them under right there. See how the shape's coming together? Okay, because now we want these tabs on the inside. I'm going to fold them inward so it'll be easier for us to add the glue to them. And what I'm going to do for this particular box is I'm going to add glue to this top one and then these two bottom ones to get it anchored in place. And then I'll go in and add glue to the rest of them and fold them inwards. So let's go ahead. It's a little bit of a reach, so you may not see it at this angle, but I'm reaching in. Since I'm right-handed, it's kind of hard to do it with the camera. The glue's not coming out. So fold it back, get it in the position you need to get it into. Okay, now I have glue on both things. I'm going to line this one up first. And you could go in order if you wanted to. It really is not that bad. I'm just doing that because sometimes the first and last ones are easier to glue than doing them all at once. Because closing these things up sometimes are a pain at the very end. Making sure it's good and secure, it is. I'm going to go ahead and line these up really well. I'm going to start at the bottom one. And I'm being extra careful, so if you see it's taking longer, because I want to make the seam as clean as possible. I'm just pushing it down a little bit. And I was a little bit off with a little gap here, but it's really not that noticeable. Oops. And you see that kind of popped down. So now it's just reaching in and adding glue to the remaining tabs. But if you want to try doing, it's possible to do it the other way, where you can just go just like we did every other one. I'm just giving you tips just in case it will help, because it is kind of hard to reach in here after the fact. I'm just kind of angling it in, or you can try to go through the gaps here too. So this one's kind of folding inward. There we go. Gotta pop it out. So fine tip applicator comes in handy. I did get a little glue on the inside, but it's okay. It's kind of in a curved area that you can't see. So let's go ahead and line that up. So I'm just lining that section up. I put a little bit too much glue, so I have my little wet paper towel. So since this is the last one, you really want to pay attention to getting that situated. You know, and this can be the front or back, but I kind of made this the back of the hat because of this last seam. But it doesn't matter, whatever side you like. It's just, it'll be shaped from the front or back. I mean, it'll go one way. I think it rises up on the left from the front and rises up to the right from the back. So just take your time on that part. And you see this just goes down. So that's what we just glued. And then here's the front from the front. So it's up to you which one you like. But now you have that all set to go. Now we're going to go ahead and put that bottom thing on, the bottom portion of the box. So now we're going to add the edge. So earlier I said that this was part of the box, but I just said the wrong thing. So the curved one is what you want for the next step. The straight one. So we have this, and this will be a panel that goes over it without the tabs. And then we have this for the box. So just be aware that to use the right one. So we want the curved ones. So I could have gone ahead and scored this already. It's easier for me to score. If you're using dashed lines, it'll be like this. I just currently am using a machine that kind of gently cuts a score line, which makes it easy to fold. So something like a Cricut maker with a score wheel or score tool doesn't score this deeply, unfortunately. So that's why I prefer to do that. Or if you're using a Cricut, using the dashed lines is sometimes better. So let's go ahead and we're going to glue this tab to the inside of the other edge. And we're just going to line up that edge with the fold. And who else's hands are so dry these days? Washing constantly, not to get thing from people during. I'm actually recording this during a high flu season, so I constantly wash my hands. So these tabs are shorter, and the reason why is this. You see, we have these little spots, little sections here. We don't want it too long because some of them have score lines here. So I made it short so it'll be easier to glue. So, normally I would make it longer, but because of the shape of these edges, I made them shorter. So that just means you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more attention to where you glue them to. I mean, how long you hold them, I should say. I was just looking at the box. I get sidetracked real easily. So what we're going to do is this will help once we fold them back. We're going to fold them back and get a nice crisp edge on these folds. Because we're going to fold it on the inside of this piece. And I do explain a little bit more because I never know if it's going to be somebody that's newer or older, or who's been doing it for a long time. Because I want everybody to be able to do it easily. So we're going to go like this, and we're going to glue it on the inside. So I want to anchor one. So it doesn't really matter where you start. So we're going to go ahead. The biggest thing is just lining up that first piece and centering it in a section. So I have that edge, of that top edge, just aligning right above the fold. And I'm going to hold it for a while inside. I'm applying pressure with a couple fingers to get that tab good and stuck to the inside. Let's see, it still folds. But you really want to make sure before you move on that that is secure. That's going to be the biggest part, is getting that right. So take your time, get that in the right place, and then the rest should fall into place. So I kind of fold these in because as they're folded out, you can't glue them. So my suggestion is on this one, if you have glue that's not quick dry, really quick dry, I would add glue to all the tabs and go around if you could. But, so I'm going to explain this before we do this. I always glue the one that's kind of opposite of the first one I glued. It's not exact opposites, but close to it, to get it in place so it'll be easier to place the other tabs. I normally do not go in order, but if you do, that's up to you. The other thing is, if you decide only to do a couple, start with this one, but realize you're going to have to reach in, and it's not going to be easy to reach in to add glue to these tabs. So here's this particular box is not probably a beginner project. Actually, I know it's not a beginner project. So what I would do is just make them good and wet enough so you can fold it back. Once you get that one secure, and then you're going to add glue to all these tabs. Don't oversaturate them. Just add enough that when you get the first one attached, because we're just going to get that first one across from the attached first, and then you can flip them up and apply pressure on each, and then we can just reach in and apply more pressure on each of them. So here we go. I'm just going to choose one kind of across from the one I just attached. Get it nice and centered. Then I'm just going to keep on going around. And I'm doing the side that I first added glue to the tabs. Remember, let's just get them in place first. So I'm not playing, I'm just quickly applying pressure to get them stuck. And I'm not doing it really hard. I'm kind of just gently folding them in. And my fingers are on the inside, applying opposite pressure. And the other thing I didn't note that I kind of put this part in the back. But it doesn't really matter because we have that rounded piece. Okay, so now I'm just going around making sure that everything's stuck. A little glue there. Now I'm just making sure, doing another round Make sure it's good and secure. I just don't want it popping up anywhere. Okay, it feels like it's all good. And it's okay, don't worry about like these little minor gaps. I just saw one there. So again, I'm making this the front. I'm letting it just like this one. I've decided that the front is going to on the left. Oops. It like just falls over. It kind of looks like somebody mentioned, my sister crafts too, but she mentioned it looked like kind of like a mushroom. But I do have mushroom in my thought too. So look at that. It's all together. Let's go ahead. I'm going to pop this little top piece on. So it did clean up the top so you can't see that middle piece. So now let's go ahead and add this outside panel. So one tip, and somebody gave this to me, is that you can do this on the edge of it. You can curl it on the edge of the table. But because I don't have my camera that way, basically I'm going to show you how I do it with my hands. However you do it, I just kind of burnish it until it gets curlier and curlier. It's just to help us glue it to make sure I get it the right way. So it's going to go like, I'll pop that open. It's going to go like this. And we're just going to start at the back. So whatever you deem the back. So this is the front. It's going to go around. You could start here. It's a little bit shorter than this. I didn't want you to have any problems getting it on. And then you can just glue it like that on the other side. So there's all it's trying to do is to make it look more curved, like a natural circle. But I wanted to make it easy to put together, so that's the reason why I didn't make it circular. Circular poses different issues for this kind of design. So it would have been harder for everybody. So you could start right here. So I did that with one, or you could overlap it. So we'll just start at that edge, just because it's easier. So you just want to just put glue on a little bit of the edge. And you could line it up with the bottom, or you could just center it, because like I said, it's a little bit shorter than the box here. If I made it the exact same size and you had little flaws up here, it might not fit, so that's why I do it. And it makes it easier when you line it up to here, because at least you know it'll be straight. So once you get that on, I'm just going to I'm just feeling this edge right here, making sure it doesn't go below this, kind of pulling it around, getting a little taut. Then when I get to this part, kind of seeing where it's landing. I'm getting it lined up with this. Then I'm kind of holding, you want to hold it in place and then add glue to that other side right here. And we're just going to go, I'm just making sure my final before I get it on. So once I get in place, I'm just going to hold it. So I'm holding it just to glue it in place, and that's the front of it. So for some reason you just wanted to make a hat decor and you don't want a box, you could stop here. Obviously it's not going to fit on anybody's head. You could try to make it bigger, but it's really the extent of how big you can make it based on the mat size. So it's up to you and what you have paper-wise. So here you can see that it's still got that octagonal form. And that signifies the back for me, so this is the front. So then we have this. You could do this out of vinyl. I mean, so many people have vinyl these days. If you wanted to cut it with vinyl, you could just put it on, attach it. I'm not going to attach that part because that's just simple right now. But you could just center it where you want it, figure out where you want it. So where you really deem the front. You may want to do this after you get the box on too. And you can kind of see it's like this. So I'll show you at the very end. Let's get the box together. So I cut out this. I had this paper that I cut out. I'm going to just ink the edge a little bit here. I have to be careful. This particular ink pad is coming apart, so I have to do it off screen. But what I'm doing, it just gives it a nice clean edge. So you can do that with distress ink. So why you're not seeing it is because it causes an older ink pad that's starting to come apart, and it actually gets on your thing. So we have that done. So this is the simple part. This is just a bottom piece that we're going to glue that top. This is actually, both of these are quite simple compared to what we just did. The hard part's over. So we're just going to center this. And then we'll put the box together. So whatever you want to do, what I did is I kind of picked this paper, the color I wanted, or the print I wanted, and then I coordinated that bottom piece, and then I also coordinated the blue for the spoon and fork combo. And then we'll go ahead, and this is real simple octagon box. Just just fold it in the right place. So once we get it folded, we'll be done within moments. So if you do like this video, this project, or any of my other projects, you go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, subscribing, and then you can click that little bell to the right to be notified when we have new videos, because we also do some tutorials too. So I put some glue on this tab, and I'm just going to lay it flat and then line this edge up. And if you do like this video, please give me a little thumbs up below. I appreciate it. I don't know whether you like it unless somebody thumbs up. And believe me, I don't have a lot of thumbs up for some reason sometimes. So I just keep creating regardless. So now we have this little piece, and you see I folded the tabs in. And I'm just going to put this internal piece in. Just put glue on these, put this in, and then we'll glue it on top of this. We don't need to cover these because this will be glued on here. So let's do that really quick. This is kind of my preferred method to put the bottoms on if I can. The issue, or shaped items like this, the issue is usually if it shows on the other side. So if I do it for the top of a box, I usually have double panels, one for the inside and one for the outside. It just makes it easier for most shaped boxes like this. Square, I don't do it. So I'm just going to make sure the textured side up, so when you look into the box, you see the texture. And I'm using American Crafts textured cardstock. And I'm just lining up these edges to the inside tab fold. So just to get it in place, and just applying pressure on every single tab. And then you could always do this too, and just do it tab by tab, just to make sure. So when you put it on here, it's up to you how you want to do it. Before we do this, remember this is the front, the way it looks from the front. So get it situated. So what we're going to want is one of these in the front. So what you might want to do is put this on and put it on just lightly, just sticking out, and determine which way you want to do it. So this happens to be a pattern that kind of rotates around a little bit. You could center it on this, or you can offset it. I personally like the offset a little bit, because what I think is kind of fun, here's some ideas I had with this. If you kind of put this towards the back, so further to the back, you could put like a little tag here that's personalized. Of course, you could always put a personalized tag there. But if you didn't want to, and you put something here and you just wanted it to be a gift for somebody, you could just center it. But it's really at this point up to you. So I'm going to kind of push it back a little bit. So this is going to be towards the back edge. But what you'll notice is this little fold is going to be in the front. So that signifies the front. So when I eyeball it, that's how I want to glue it on. So I'm just going to take this off. So I'm just making sure that this is in the front, a fold is in the front, before I put it on. So add just a little glue to the bottom there. Remember the folds in the front. I'm going to do it backwards, so it doesn't matter because my pattern just goes around. So I'm going to go from the back, kind of put it on lightly, go to the front, make sure it looks good to me. Perfection's not required, but I know some of you probably feel you need to be perfect. So now it's all ready for a gift. I'm one that doesn't like to make just a hat for the sake of a hat. I'm all about the gifts. So, because to me, I got into doing this because I wanted to make special gifts. So now, I'm just lining that up visually. It seems like it won't go on, it's just I don't have it lined up properly. Okay, so now that we have it set, we're going to go ahead and put it on. So again, I made that the front, so I'm going to put it on like this. And it is kind of a weird thing to put it on. Make sure you don't pop that in, so be careful when you're holding it from the top and doing that. But there it is. We're going to go ahead. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just add that. Let's just add that really quick. I just wanted it facing from the front. Got a little glue on the side of this. So making sure the textured side is up. So you could use, gotta have a little excess glue on here. You can use like a fine tip applicator. I'm using one. I've used a couple. One of them's called Darice. This one, I'm not 100% because it really is hard to fill, but it is for art glitter glue pretty much only because art glitter glue is thinner than other glues. And it's a really small area to pour it into, so it's not one I'm like 100% recommending. If you did want more information, go to my website and contact us for that info. So I'm just adding a little glue to the end, unless you use like vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and just center that. So I want to get it in the spot I like. Get it in the center. Just kind of roll it around. So this would be a good thing to use. So you can see it cut really well. This is American Crafts cardstock that I use again to cut this spoon and fork out. So well cut. So if you're having difficulty, usually it's just a setting on your machine. When it comes to fine cutting, I tend to take some time to make sure there's a lot of round curves and it'll cut well on machines. So I don't like to do a lot. I don't do a lot of vinyl work. Yeah, but vinyl's better for really thin items. So that finishes it. To put the hat on the actual lid, on the box, you have to line up these little scores. Otherwise it's going to be hard. So I'm realizing that, I believe that most people would already put it on, but you just have to take your time, get them lined up. And once you get them lined up properly, it goes on. So again, if you like this project, and even if you didn't, don't give me a dislike. Just give me a thumbs up. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever you want to do, but it does help me, so I appreciate anything. And I thank you so much for watching.